come up off that neck into the trends. See a lead be the band.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. It's a stormy day in Detroit. The World Series begins on Friday, but we felt like it was a appropriate time to get the awards out the way. The Tigers season has been over. The team that eliminated them has now been eliminated themselves. So yeah, let's see what we got in the way of awards. We'll see how closely we agree on some of these, which I think that we will for the most part. But I'm just going to read off what you got. I'm going to just read off the awards that you have, and then we'll see if there's any disparity between the two of us. The first award we are going to talk about is the Rookie of the Year. The Tigers didn't have a lot of rookies that got significant playing time, so it was a pretty unanimous decision to go with Troy Melton. What are your thoughts? I mean, what was your thought process as far as that? Not too much.
It's to your point, he played, I'd say, a majority of the season up with us, or at least, he had enough appearances and innings to where it really counted. And he grew up pretty fast, trial by fire too in the playoffs, and was fairly reliable, had some great outings, some learning curves. And I think there's a lot, who knows where the potential is with him.
Yeah, I mean, he mostly pitched in relief. They started him a couple games in the beginning of the beginning of his career, or the beginning of the rookie season. But he actually started game one of the second round of the playoffs. So, right?
Yeah. He opened
ahead of Skubal, but yeah, I mean, that was kind of a crucial, and he was coming off a rough outing as well. So it was quite the risk. There was quite a bit of risk, and then I think he got a high leverage spot in the final game of the season. So they didn't hesitate to put him in those situations, and he actually came out of those better than Jackson Jobe. So I'm looking forward to seeing him being a full-time starter somewhere within the pitching rotation at the start of 2026. The next, I'm gonna skip one of these and leave it to the end. But for Silver Slugger, you had Dylan Dingler, which I presume is just kind of the best overall, like all-around hitter. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a lot offline and even in a handful of our shows. He's turning into a very consummate professional hitter. For those maybe a little on the older side, can kind of relate to that term. I don't really think it's used too much nowadays, but yeah, he has a very professional approach at the dish. He doesn't try to do too much. He is just as adaptable as a hitter as we've seen him become a very elite catcher defensively as well. And boy, he had some clutch hits in some moments. I don't think we were kind of expecting him to rise to the occasion. There weren't too many, but the ones he did deliver were big. Extra base hits, a couple home runs. I think his bat can really only improve, and you did a great job highlighting his numbers in Toledo before he even got to Detroit. He was mashing. So far, the last 2+ years for Dingler, he has really rounded himself out as a hitter in addition to being a good catcher defensively.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that you could have, I mean, if you just go down stat-wise, you could probably find some more flashy or more power, within the lineup. But as far as all around consistency throughout the entire season, I don't think that he's a bad choice to make. And we'll transition right into Gold Glove. This is also going to Dylan Dingler, who is actually the only player that is up for
A legit one.
yeah, legitimate one, yeah, outside of the organization, just in general. So, kind of a no-brainer there. I think every year you can always make a consideration to Zach McKinstry. I think he's been a finalist for, I think, last year. I don't know if it was utility wise. Do they have a utility Gold Glove?
I thought they added one more recently. I can double check, but I mean, I feel like he's played last year. He played a bit more in corner outfield,
Yeah,
in third base early, but I know he had some starts at third base come playoff time. That's pretty much where he got settled in.
yeah. He played more third than anything, and I think shortstop was a close second. But yeah, he's obviously up there. Meadows could possibly be up there as well, although he missed a big chunk of the year. Reliever of the year. It looks like it's a split between Will Vest and Kyle Finnegan. And obviously, Finnegan started the year in Washington. So this is largely talking about 2 months. What's going on, Troy? We're largely talking about the 2 months that he was with the team, and then he also had a stint on the IL. But yeah, Will Vest was kind of a constant. He was healthy the entire year. He ended up, went into the postseason as the closer. So yeah, I'm not mad at anybody that goes for Will Vest. Troy says, do you guys see us re-signing Torres? If not, what's the plan at second? I'm thinking that Cole Keith takes back over those duties because he has no other solidified position. I don't think that he'll be the everyday third baseman. I mean, he can definitely come in and spot at third, but there's definitely some deficiencies there. What do you think, Coach? This is kind of the ongoing question that we've been kind of talking about all year. But
yeah, I just don't see it. I think Detroit's just, if anything, they'll just they'll just be like, what's another one more 1 year deal, and inevitably he's going to turn it down because he took the one this year to get a 3-4 year extension, be a little more stable. So I would see this maybe playing out like Flaherty last year, potentially. Like we give an offer and he just sits on it and waits for something better all off season. But at that point, who knows what happens? But initially, I'm not giving him a multi-year deal that he's seeking.
Yeah, the multi-year makes zero sense. I think he left it all on the line and even played through that hernia just to solidify, his efforts. And yeah, I think he was probably. I feel like he was a good, clubhouse guy. I think he meshed really well with Javi and the guys, but. I think this was the year with him. He's going to be one of those guys. You look back and say, "Hey, remember when we had Gleyber Torres? That was a pretty cool year. We made it to the the second round of the playoffs and all that stuff." But yeah, ultimately, I think he goes and gets his bag. Let's see what's next on here. Most clutch. Now, this is interesting. I think we definitely disagree at this one. You had Kerry Carpenter. Elaborate on that.
I mean, for me, this was the flashy pick, if you will. Talk about a guy who's delivered in big moments in some big situations and been able to start hitting against the same side late in the season as well, that paid dividends too. I mean, for me, they don't win a lot of these games without him late, especially down the stretch. They just don't. No one else really showed up too much. Sure, some other guys did. I won't throw names out there. I don't want to spoil the drum roll for your counter. So, but yeah, plain and simple, he's electric. He's driven in multiple game-winning or game lead-changing home runs in the playoffs. He's built for this. He, like Dingler, is a pro hitter. Clutch Carey is the guy. But I know you got someone else. Stop teasing us. Let us know.
So, I mean, I think that I think, to your point about we don't win a lot of these games down the stretch without Kerry Carpenter. That can be said, especially if you're talking about the recency of the postseason. Without a shadow of a doubt, he had a ton of big at bats. But to even get into the playoffs, I think Jahmai Jones is a guy that since he's come up, he's got it. Yeah, he's got it done in the high leverage situations. I think he finished over with an over 400 average, either with runners on or with runners in scoring position, which is pretty insane. And his OPS was over 9. It was over 1,000. It was like 1,200. So he was obviously limited to only going up against left-handed pitchers. He was a big spark at the top of the lineup. He had, I think, like 3 leadoff home runs to start the game, which, he just kind of he was the spark. I will write if for some reason he doesn't come back next year. I don't think that's possible, but yeah, he was huge this year. I really hope that he in the way that Kerry finally earned the ability to get some cuts against left-handed pitchers. I would love to see him get some more cuts against righties because his splits, he didn't have nearly the amount of at-bats against righties, but I think his average was about 280 against righties. So he wasn't just completely lost up there. And he took walks, which is exactly what you needed at the top of the lineup. We didn't have many guys that took walks. So that's that. What else we got here?
That's a good pick. I like that pick.
Yeah, had to go against the grain there. Most improved. Yeah, well, Mr. Dingler won a lot.
Can you tell I played catcher? No.
The one I made was comeback player of the year, and I actually put Torkelson, who you may have some arguments about, but I mean he was on his way out the door, and there was rumors of trading him or him being sent back to AAA. But I mean Dingler only played a handful of games last year. I think Jake was the primary catcher for going into the postseason. So there wasn't much. He was kind of starting, damn near from square one. But I mean, with Dingler playing so well defensively and offensively, I'm not mad at it. But yeah, I think there's a strong case to be made for Torkelson. What are your reservations on Torkelson and him turning his season around?
I think for me taking Dingler, it's a combination of the fact that, we already kind of knew he was already had the track record to be an above average catcher. I don't know if we figured he would be damn near elite is what he's shown us, but I mean, the approach too with the bat was really nice to see because let's be real, first full year, you're going to be the starter pretty much. Their expectations are kind of low for catchers these days, unless you're a guy like an Adley Rutschman, a high draft pick overall or very highly touted. But it's not so much that I disagree or I have a grudge against Torkelson. His OPS was great, got on base more. But again, second half, he had some stretches for a week or so where he kind of would revamp and pop back up, but he kind of fell away to the wayside in the second half. And then playoffs too, especially the last series, he went kind of AWOL. But yeah, I agree with most of what you said though. His power was up, his run production was up. He was driving the ball better. Definitely improved for sure in a lot of those key areas for Torkelson.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and save the last few awards for last. I know you guys are just clamoring to figure out who is going to win those awards, but they're pretty obvious. Let's be right back. We'll be right back. All right. I don't think you had it listed on here, but pitcher of the year is a award that I wrote down personally. Impressively enough, Casey Mize actually had the most wins this year over Tarek Skubal. Obviously, overall, statistically, in every category. Other than that, Skubal's got him beat. But I don't know. I don't know what our expectations were coming into the year. I don't know if we had him being the most winningest player on our team. You got, Flaherty was likely going to be up there, and depending upon how healthy Reese Olson, I think that he could have competed for that as well. But he did help solidify the starting pitching, the pitching staff, because we were pretty banged up, and I don't think Mize missed any. He was healthy all year, right?
Yeah, I don't think he ever missed any time. I don't think. If he did, it was maybe one start here or there, nothing crazy.
Yeah, because he had some stuff going on last year, where his IL stint got stretched out to 60 days, and there was some arbitration stuff as well. So yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen going into the year, but I think that he's now solidified himself as of for right now, a top of the rotation arm. So that was an encouraging sight. But the MVP, I'll let you do the honors with who you think our MVP is. I know everybody is just like, who could it possibly be, right?
Yeah, I mean, and kind of running away with it, obviously, is the probable defending back-to-back American League Cy Young champion Tarek Skubal.
Yeah. There's not. He is pictured on the screen, so that kind of gives it away a little bit. But, but yeah, I would have liked for him to have gone a little longer in that final game, but he left it out for the most part. Left it all out there. I think he threw 99 pitches in that last game.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Pandora's box we could open up if you wanted to.
Well,
because that's out there. That's been one of the hottest theories of speculation out there. Was that no matter what, he was done after 6, regardless.
And he just didn't want to risk injury, and you seem to think that he's upset with how they're handling the situation. But care to elaborate on why that's the case?
Yeah, nice little plug into the last piece I wrote for the network. But yeah, I mean, it with the tone he delivered, the locker cleanout press conference, the day of the interview guys, they had AJ all around, they're in non-Tigers uniform, script stuff. And Tarek's tone while he was talking was kind of very, very right to the point. Very, I ain't going to BS you. This is what it is. I'm not going to really say much more about it, but he said it in a way that came off as, all right, I got something to show, or I got something to prove, or, okay. He's kind of brushing off the shoulder a little bit, like, all right, I'll remember that. That's kind of how it came off. Very, I know I'm the man. He's going to get a bag no matter what. And potentially the speculation, whether we made another offer since last year, the reports between 250, 300, or even 400 million that were apart, which is insane. That number alone is insane that we're that far apart, allegedly. If we are,
did
Scott
they end up
Harris needs to
throwing
get
out?
tutored on negotiating.
So didn't they end up throwing out what the figures were? 4 years.
Yeah, it was either 4 years 100 or like 4 years 150, something like that. It's like 25 to more north of that a year for AAV. But they, Boris dismissed it as a non-competitive offer. Twice that.
So 2 years, because we're talking about a while ago. We're not talking about this current day. Would it behoove us to outbid ourselves 2 years with 2 years of years of control to throw out $300 million? Like, would that make sense?
This year?
No, I'm talking about when the offer was made. The offer was made, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who's to say that number would have been right there, full well knowing, like, okay, we have this guy now. He's healthy. He's in his prime right now. His stock is only going to go up as long as he keeps producing like this. And Boris's approach is probably similar, like, yep, we're going to ride this wave out all the way to the top, to the damn wheels fall off, and we'll max out there at our very peak. Our absolute apex, because he's got to know after this, that's it. It's the only contract he's going to get, at his age. So,
which is why I don't know if Skubal can, if indeed he is upset about something, how upset he could really be, knowing that Boris wants to take it to the open market anyway. So it's like, I mean, what is it really worth outside of Detroit? Just like I said, outbidding ourselves.
Well, I mean, if we were serious about it, I think we would have made a re-upped offer, or a secondary offer closer to his value. I say that marginally. It's whatever, however you want to value that word on it. But maybe if they had done it back in like April or May this year and make a legitimate, better offer, I think he would have been more inclined to just say, yep, let's get it done. I want to focus on the rest of the year in the next 8 years here in Detroit. You know what I mean? But if he wasn't really given if he was given another lowball, non-competitive offer 2 years in a row, and we don't know about this more recent one, whenever it was,
right,
that was horrible on us, and we got egg all over our face.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
yeah, at this point, I think that.
Well, how do you take his comments? I want to hear your interpretation, or at least what you think he's feeling based on those.
Well, do you have a cliff note of what he actually? Well, you said he just kind of.
Yeah, he said, in short, I'm generalizing here. He said, I really only focus about what's going on between the lines out in the dugout in the field. I play the game. I do what I'm supposed to do. I leave, we'll leave the contract stuff up to the agent and the front office. I don't have anything to do with that. But, I don't have any. I don't talk to him really about it until he's given me something that is worth me looking at. So.
I mean, that's kind of what he's supposed to say, because that's what your agent essentially is for. It's not, Skubal's not supposed to be in there crunching the numbers and doing all that type of stuff. You want him to, we know him to be a competitive player and to take his job very serious. So I would imagine he is pretty locked in on his skills and what he's got to do to win as many games as he can. So he strikes me as somebody that, of course he hired Scott Boras, so he wants to make a lot of money, but at the same time, I don't think the big bag and the flash, that doesn't seem like Skubal to me. I think that's kind of a necessary evil with being the best pitcher on the planet, but I don't think that he revels in it in the way that some other guys are like, yeah, let's get this money. Like Skubal just seems like a very conservative, just like, I don't know. So
I gotta respect it too. Remember, he's 2 major arm surgeries into his career, so that next one could be it. So I respect that side of it too. Get it while you can, because this is the only time he's gonna get it.
Yeah, he's 30. He's not 30 yet, but he will be 30 by the time he's paid with that big deal. he'll be going into his 30. He'll be going
Yeah.
into 30.
Yeah, he'll be 30 in his first year in whatever new contract it is.
Right. So, and he leaves it all out. I mean, he's a guy that throws 100. He's 100 pitches in, and he's throwing 100 miles an hour. So he's not cheating himself or anybody else. So.
So let's say this here. Let's say they don't trade him. Let's just say, all right, we're going to play the angles here. Everyone has over the last handful of days between different shows and journalists and experts. They're going to analyze this to death, and I think there's really only a couple options. If they don't trade him this winter, and they feel like, okay, well, we try and make a run from this year. How much less of a return in general, and if it's one less prospect or a decrease in overall value of the MLB, 26-man guy that's ready now, adjusted to what you think they would lose if they were to do it at the deadline. Now, mind you, too, if they're good, there's a world where Scott Harris doesn't even trade him at the deadline and gets nothing for him if they're in a good spot.
There'd have to be some significant upgrades to the team for Scott Harris to be that confident, because we've gone down this road the last 2 years. Who's to say that this is the year unless we go out and get Cody Bellinger or Eugenio Suarez or something like that? Then you're like, okay, yeah, this is a legitimate opportunity. But if we go into this year with Wencio Perez in right field, thinking that, oh, we can win the World Series, I don't know what the logic, where that logic would come from, because, like I said, we saw where the team cap maxes out from the last 2 seasons. We can't make that same decision again. So, yeah, his value is gonna. I mean, his value is already going to be at a certain point because he's now a rental. It's now a year. The team that eventually trades for him is only going to get him for less than a season, unless it's in the wintertime, then it's a full season. But they still they're still left with the realization that he may be gone after this year. So his value is already maxed out. Hold on, we got some comments. Worst pitcher, captain, changeup. Oh, yeah. Tommy Kahnle is definitely, definitely. I won't say he's the worst pitcher, but Troy says, I said we give Skubal 6 years, $360, so that's $60 million a year.
Oh, man, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
But 6 years, I think I'm comfortable with the 6 years. 6 years left. I mean, you got a good 2-3 ace years, and then he starts his decline. But he'd only be 35 if he signed it, now, as opposed to starting it where I guess you would buy out his final year of control or whatever. But anyway, he'd be around 35, 36 years old. I think it's not bad. Maybe Troy Melton is taking over as the ace by then. Jackson Joe. But what do you think? It's 60. What's the highest AAV for a pitcher ever?
I think it's got it. I mean, he'd be setting it if he gets anywhere close to what he wants, but I'm pretty sure Shohei's got it right now.
Oh yeah, I guess he is a pitcher. Okay, Shohei's got 70 per year, 10 for 700, but it's like a ton of like deferred.
Yeah, 70 million. He's not getting. I wouldn't even give him 60. Honestly, I wouldn't give him more than 50.
And I guess Shohei probably gets it because he's a hitter. So even then, if he gets Tommy John again, you still got the best hitter in the world too. But the next one to him is Zach Wheeler at 42, Jacob deGrom 37, Blake Snell 36. So 60 would be significantly higher than those guys.
That's kind of what I was thinking, like 5 years with like I don't want to do Yeah, without getting too complicated, I think 5 years I'm kind of good with. 6 would be like maybe a player option, but I would adjust the payment the first handful of years so that last year option is not as heavy. So if they need to make an amicable split, they can do it at that point. Versus having to shell out, the average of 50. Tell a guy, hey, thanks for retirement, thanks for no thanks, give him 50 million, be crazy, but we kind of did it with Miguel, so
So that's the Nationals.
yeah. But I think 5, man, absolutely not more than 6. I'd be much better with 5. Seems silly because just one more year, but at that age, man, by the time you go from 34 to 35 to 36, so much can happen in that point in time for velocity, issues of grip, you name it. So
I mean, to pry him away from the next bidder, which could be like a Yankees, a Mets, a Dodgers. I mean, you may have to do a few more years. I mean, I think 5 would be perfect, but it's not going to be perfect. We're gonna ultimately, if we end up keeping him, it's gonna kind of hurt to rip that Band-Aid. But
hey, if they're having a good year, are you trading him at Scott Harris at the deadline, knowing well that you're not getting him back? If you obviously can't resign him, can't afford him. If you full well know that, do you trade him despite having another good year as a team?
yeah, I think you do because it's not going to be worth the inevitable uh, first round or second round exit. That's what we've been doing the last 2 years. It did nothing for us. At the very least, if we're going to lose our ace, we might as well build for the future because the next couple of years could get ugly. So why not get more talent? Because once Skubal is really gone, like for sure gone, if we leave with nothing, we're really going to be like, you think we're going to be bad, bad on our own, but at least try to pry away a nice prospect in the process. Like these Mets ones. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, if you want to pull them up, I've seen some of the general proposal, but I'm obviously not too familiar with a whole lot of other organizations hire prospects.
That doesn't look great. So
I will say I agree with you with that decision, though, to trade him at the deadline, regardless of how good we are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, the thing about now is that so we've grown accustomed now over the last 2 years to some pretty good success. Some teams that are making the playoffs and making some moves within the playoffs a little bit. But it's like you said, those baseball windows, close fast. Ours is obviously very much so contingent upon the player that we're discussing right now, and the reality is that we may not have a horse. I mean, if 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 Boras has already made up in his mind, there's not something short of just a ridiculous overpay that we're not going to get him back. We don't really have a we don't really have a too much of a leg to stand on as far as bringing him back. So we have to do what's best. We have to do what's best for us in the long run. So yeah, it's going to be kind of an emotional, whatever for fans to because I feel like isn't that what happened with Ohtani, where the Angels ended up losing him for nothing? They didn't trade him to LA.
Yep.
So like I think that you have to look past the the fans are going to be upset when you voluntarily make the trade. The organization has to shoulder they shoulder the blame for that because it's like you traded my best, you traded my favorite player away. So you have to get past that and do what's best for the long term of this organization. Same way with Verlander. Everybody was like, "Oh, we traded Verlander for Cam Maben and Jake Rogers and all these other guys that are nobody." So it's not always the funnest decision to make, but losing him for nothing is ultimately the worst. So I could not find the one that was a part of the graphic, but this is one of the proposed. This is one of the proposed trades. This actually might be the trade right here. I think that Jonah Tong was a part of the graphic, but when you look at this, Nolan McLean is the number one player in their organization. It kind of resets our top of the line potential pitcher. Obviously, he's not anywhere to the level of Skubal yet, but he kind of instills the fan base with somebody exciting and young to look forward to for the next years to come. I actually like the Brett Beatty thing too. He's struggled, he struggled over the last couple of years, but we do have a major hole at third base, and he comes in as a good defensive player and a guy that can play every day. So I like him as well. Jet Williams, I think he's like 21. He's a pretty young guy, but as you can see, a pretty highly touted guy. And then the other guy that they had that was possibly mocked is a guy named Ryan Clifford, who I think led his league in home runs and walks. So, on base guy, and he's a first baseman. So, as far as immediately, you got at least two starters with Brett Beatty and Nolan McLean. And like I said, Nolan McLean could be interchangeable with Jonah Tong, who also is a young guy that made his debut this year as well. But yeah, I mean, this is a decent flip for Skubal, with the understanding that they're only going to get him for 1 year. So I think it's definitely more of a risk for the Mets to make this deal unless they are pretty confident that they can pay him, which their owner does spend money. So what are your thoughts?
I just pulled up Jet Williams. He's small.
Yeah, he's tiny. He's like a second baseman.
5'7", 175. Yeah, they got listed as short, center, and second, which is an interesting combination. So middle infield, center.
Got some pop. I think he's
I don't think he's made his debut.
No. I'm talking about just in the minor leagues.
Interesting. I wonder if acquiring him would essentially maybe replace McKinstry long term when the time comes. Similar profile, but instead of well, I feel like Zach could play center if he had to. He's got the athleticism, no?
It's funny because that's one position that I have not seen him play.
And you don't think a guy at 5'7" is going to play the center field like a Parker Meadows does. Usually that's where your length comes in to really help you being tall and long.
Right.
So that's an interesting piece. But yeah, I'd have to look at some of his numbers in depth, but I kind of – a little hesitant with the kind of like the undersides of him, but I mean, the other two guys, Batty, it's like it's obviously it looks juicy because, like you said, position of need, and the other guy is potential first baseman too. But I would just hope that it's not too much of a project, if that makes sense. Because the first time around him being a delivery now, so
you said what?
I mean, if he's not a big project and someone that does, just needs to help with a couple different things to really get him going, because like the graphic shows, he was a 125 weighted, RC plus. So he's got some good numbers. So just hopefully it's not a situation where we have like a Mikey Matuk, a guy who's highly touted. We got him, didn't really do too much. But I'm getting too much. It looks okay on the surface. I'll say this: it looks okay on the surface to me.
Yeah, but Brett Beatty is a major league player. We're not talking about projected.
Right. Yeah. No. I understand. Yeah. It's making sure that the MLB guy I guess it depends what your approach is in terms of what you want priority back. High end prospect, that rank guys, or a little more emphasis on your MLB guy that's going to go right in the lineup and be an impact.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you want a nice mix of that. You don't want a bunch of guys that you got to wait 3 years to see if they pan out, but certainly you want some pitchers for sure. I mean, or at least one high end pitcher, high end ceiling pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Troyce, it sounds like we've been lowballing. If we're going to pay up, we might as well trade him. Agree with you guys. He said, I'd take it. He said, I'd take it to the Mets deal. He said, we definitely need to trade him to the NL. I agree with that. McLean pitched great this year, strikes out a ton of batters. That's a good deal. Yeah, and we definitely need some strikeout guys. I think that Skubal is probably our only. I mean, I guess Flaherty is kind of a strikeout guy, but we got a lot of guys that pitch to contact. Montero, I guess Olson's a strikeout guy, but Mize is more of a pitch to contact guy. So
I feel like Job will be a strikeout guy eventually.
Yeah, eventually, but he struggled with that early on, more than you would expect from a guy that's got high velocity. But he's still kind of learning how to pitch right now. But but yeah, Jet Williams, as far as his profile, the PS score pretty much speaks to his ceiling. So they feel like he's got a pretty high ceiling. He's only 21 years old. He's got some pop though. When you look at his expected slug, you look at his pull in the air rate. I mean, pretty high for a guy that's only 175 pounds. He packs a pretty good punch. I mean, 5'7" is. I mean, for a major league, for a major league baseball player that's crazy.
You know, I first thought of immediately Pedroia. I'm like, oh, it's Dustin Pedroia 2.0.
and I think that if you would look through the analytics, you will probably find the comps to be something like that. Yeah, because it's pretty. So the other guy his last name was Clifford. I want to say Ryan, but yeah, this guy had a ton of home runs last year and a ton of walks as well. Ryan Clifford. Yeah, first baseman / outfielder. Big boy, 6'3", 200. A lot of pop. Pulls the ball in the air pretty well. The Z contact is how often he's making contact on balls in the zone. So,
good rate.
Punishes balls in the zone. He doesn't expand the strike zone too much. And yeah, so he's got a ton of pop. I want to say he hit over 30 home runs last year. We can pull that up real quick too. He's 22, and I want to say he's in.
Damn, he has to be a lefty.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody. That's just the way it is. Yeah, he throws left, hits left, and he had 29 home runs and 93 RBIs. So that's at the top of the to the top. But Syracuse is what? That's AAA. So he's kind of a ready project, probably in the profile of a Kerry Carpenter in the sense that he's probably not a great defensive corner outfielder. And obviously Torque is already at the first base, so he would kind of be a bench bat DH type guy. So that's just another guy that I saw projected to us along with Jonathan, McLean, guys of that nature. So that's the projected Mets. That's the projected Mets deal. I've seen some pretty ridiculous ones. I saw one that had Skubal and Mize, and I know Skubal and Baez, and I guess it was less prospects for us, but they ate the final 2 years of his deal. So I don't know if we would be so inclined to want to send Baez on his way to take less for Skubal, especially when Baez, all things considered, had a rough second half of the year, but he did come in the clutch, play a lot of helpful center field for us, and he was one of our better hitters in the postseason. So if you go by recency bias, not gonna happen. But yeah, let's get to our last break. Let's talk about the World Series a little bit, and then we'll get up out of here. Spend a little bit more time on our trade than I thought, but that's mock trades, but that's okay. Everybody likes mock. Said earlier, the World Series starts on Friday, and we have the Toronto Blue Jays going up against the LA Dodgers. The Dodgers, I feel like, have been waiting around for a while, but yeah, I mean, do you see this to be do you think this is going to be a competitive World Series? We got LA versus Toronto, like Kendrick and Drake. Jordan Springer making his return to the World Series since he was a Houston Astro. Ohtani versus Guerrero. Got some nice little sub battles, but yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be, it makes me want to vomit. The Dodgers are in their third World Series in the last 4 or 5 years or something ridiculous like that. But that's for another time. Toronto will get Dante Bichette back. Did it again. Sorry, I did the dad, not the legacy son. Bo, sorry. Bo Bichette said he'll be back for the World Series, which doesn't start until Friday. So yeah, Dodgers have a long way to wait. But I'm pulling. I think if you're not a Dodgers fan, you're probably pulling for Toronto. So this is kind of like would have been us if this was us last year with the run we had late. But and no, there hasn't been a World Series since maybe Joe Carter last played in the the Sky Dome in Toronto. They have plexiglass out there, huh?
Is it? Oh yeah, it's the Rogers Center now, right?
Rogers Center now. It may have been the early years of that when it's been open, but maybe not. But been a long time, and man, it's hard to hate on those powder blue uniforms. So, but it'll be exciting. I think the league's getting a good matchup. Like you stated, a lot of good subplot storylines, matchups. But honestly, it would have been a great World Series no matter who came out between Toronto and Seattle. Obviously, Seattle having the year they had and Cal Raleigh. I don't think there's really a big drop off either way. Both AL teams bring star power to match the Dodgers.
Yeah, David, he said it would have been us. Toronto kind of had our number this year, but it would have been fun to see us play a little bit more baseball. Seattle got off to a 2-0 lead, right?
First team to lose Game 7, I think, after winning their first 2 road games to start the series. That's going to be a sour taste. We thought ours was sour.
Yeah, I think that's what hurts so much. Is that especially when you win the first 2 on the road, you set yourself up in a major way to get the job done. But Toronto's just been scrappy and resilient all year, and I don't know though. The Dodgers kind of put away Milwaukee pretty handedly, and I feel like Milwaukee was the Toronto of the National League. So.
Yeah, Milwaukee always blows it in the first, second round. They've done that for years. They don't spend a ton of money, just enough to keep being a playoff team. But hey, I'll say this for what it is. They've pumped out some pretty good pitchers and some pretty good players. Unfortunately, they've hamstrung tied to Yelich in that horrible contract because he does nothing. He does nothing in the playoffs for them. Historically awful.
Yeah. And it's funny because Toronto did make it a point to they made it a point to get every Cleveland Guardian that they desired, but 2, they spent some decent money on Santander, and you want to talk about nothing? He's done nothing the entire year. I think he's not even on the playoff. I don't think he was on the last.
Him and Scherzer and someone else were left off. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like all the money they spent this year. That's kind of crazy. So
You had his name on the list for us.
I wanted him, and yeah, that probably would not have aged well, and everybody would have been so pissed, even though they would have been, but they would have been mad that Scott Harris didn't spend the money. So
Yeah.
just goes to show, I think that you would have liked to have Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt was okay, I don't know. We'll get to that free agency talk. Yeah, the Dodgers pitching staff is stacked. They got Loki Sasaki. I think it's the closer right now, and he's throwing gas, out and they got Otani. Otani's hitting having 3 home run games. And somebody said that somebody jokingly said that maybe a guy that survives the apocalypse, and he's going to tell them about how some hit 3 home runs in the World Series, and he pitched, and they're going to like laugh at him, like, okay, like, that's the most ridiculous, unlikely scenario, but that's what Otani does. He's just the best hitter in the world and probably the top 5 best pitcher in the world too. So kind of insane.
So who are you taking then? Who are you taking? Tell us who you're taking and in how many games.
I mean, if I had to put money on it, I would say LA in 6. If they mess around and beat them in like 5 or sweep them, that would be kind of insane. But I think Toronto's just too scrappy. They'll scrap out at least 1 game.
I got Toronto in 7.
Wow. What's the most games that LA has played this? What's the longest series they played?
Probably the sweep, honestly. They had to win 4 games. That's the longest they've had to play. Everything else has been.
They played 2 series, right? They had to play the Brewers, and then they played the Cubs. No, played 2 games, right?
Phillies. Yeah, it was Phillies. They dispatched first after the wild card round.
Okay, so they swept both guys.
No, Philly won 1 game in LA. I think they won 3-1. So yeah, they're 7-1 in the playoffs this year.
Okay.
Dodgers.
So 5. Okay, 5. Okay.
Mariners went to Toronto went. They won in 4 against New York, 3-1, and they went 4-3. So they're 7-4 this year so far. So they played a few more games.
All right, so you got Toronto. You got Toronto winning. I mean, I'm not mad at that. American League.
It's a good storyline for the league. I mean, I think a lot of us get sick of the fact, and mind you, 10 years ago, we were that Yankees, Dodgers, Cubs team with the original Chris or Mike Ilitch spending. But a lot of baseball fans are not in those markets. It's like, no, I want the other team to win. Sick of this. Although it ends up being most times not a team in the top 12 in payroll, at least in the last 20, 25 years, like 95% of the time. So, yeah,
a lot of people were mad about all the players that the Dodgers were getting in free agency. So, be nice because they literally got everybody. Snell, Roki, Scott, a whole bunch of guys out of the bullpen. But
I'll say this, Snell, you don't think Snell's going to be pitching with a little bit of a chip in his shoulder after what happened with him being pulled early in the Tampa Bay Rays World Series appearance? He's got something to prove out there this World Series for sure. He's going to come out and be electric. That's why it'll be tough. I think it might be a bit lower scoring. I don't think Toronto's offense will be as electric considering LA's pitching. But then again, I think Toronto has enough pitching to kind of keep LA fairly tempered down. They won't be able to hold them down for too many games, but hopefully enough to where, they win like a couple 5-2, 6-3, something like that. If it gets way up there, higher numbers, LA is going to be cooking. That's where I think they have the advantage.
Yeah, you don't want to get in a shootout with them. David says, I agree with Coach. I don't think the Dodgers can go 4 games in a row with heavy bats. Toronto was way more consistent at the bat department. I mean, Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can't just hit a million home runs. Sometimes you got to manufacture. That's what they've done all year.
Well, the one note for this World Series matchup, that corner outfielder for Toronto made his debut in his 30s. He made the major league roster, I think, this year. He's saying he's one of the oldest guys on the team that does not have a big service record of tenured time up at the MLB level. So I thought that was interesting when they brought that up on a telecast probably a couple of weeks ago near the beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I can only imagine this disparity between what he's making compared to the Dodgers.
He's producing. He has quietly been good for them, and no one's really, other than being a Toronto fan, I feel like no one's talking about it. That's kind of an unsung piece for them, but hopefully he doesn't wilt away under the brightest lights yet.
That's Nathan Lucas you're talking about?
I believe so, yeah. I think he plays right field if I'm not mistaken, but I think he can play both.
Yeah, he definitely played against the Tigers a couple of times this year. I think he kind of gave us some hell. So, but yeah, he's.
Look at the name. I'm like, who is this guy? I don't even know. Was he ranked? No, he's old. What the hell?
38, 31. He definitely looks every bit of in his 30s, maybe 40s. But
yeah. But good names. It'll be a great matchup. If LA starts winning early, I don't know how much longer in this series I'll continue to watch, but yeah, definitely pulling for the Jays.
Yeah, and Vladdy definitely tried to jinx the team because he wore the Maple Leaf jersey, and I think the Maple Leafs have never won a Game 7 or haven't won a Game 7 in a certain amount of time or some bull crap. So he almost cursed them. But at any rate, that'll pretty much wrap up the show. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're on Bleachers Speakers, and we're also simulcasting over on Corner to Copa. We're trying to build up that. We're trying to build up that channel as well. And the off season hasn't quite started for the major leagues, but we're kind of getting a jump start on that. So we'll have a lot of content regarding that. As far as free agency, they're already starting to sign guys to minor league deals mostly. And
we had an MLB manager hire today. I saw right before we went live.
Actually, the Angels manager,
and not who we thought originally. A week ago, or even 3 or 4 days ago, it was rumored that Pujols was the sudden front runner, which would make sense. But do you know? Do you want to tell the audience who they ended up hiring?
It's a former catcher. What is his name?
Yeah, I know. he played a lot of his career in the AL West mostly.
It still says Ron Washington, but that is not.
I'm pretty sure he came up on the Moneyball team.
Kurt Suzuki is actually.
Yeah.
And he
played for Angels.
Yeah, he was already working kind of within the organization, so it was kind of set up.
He played a lot of his career in the AL West. Seattle, LA, Oakland. I think he came up with Oakland.
Yeah,
I think he was an all-star there that 1 year. It's kind of how he got on the map.
Yeah, he had some good years. Probably like Chavez and them, or maybe that's a little later. But he's only 42. Yeah. So.
The other third name that was also interviewed, and it's crazy because these are all former players who I don't think have any actual bench coach experience. I know you said Suzuki was in the front office, so a little different dynamic, but
that's what it said.
Yeah, Torrey Hunter was also interviewed, so that was interesting. Another former Angel player himself, so they were definitely trying to reconnect with some of the more recent years of roots.
Which I could see the appeal in that, especially with some of the younger players that might have still remembered them. Of course, we remember them, but these, depending on how young they are, they may not even know who Torrey Hunter is. I mean, or not be
right.
May not be familiar. So,
not to tag it like that, but Kurt Suzuki, at least off the top of my head, got to be one of the more recent, even maybe going back a bit, more recent Asian manager hires. I can't remember the last time we've had one.
I don't know if I've ever seen one.
Because honestly, I think Ichiro could be a phenomenal manager. Language barriers thing aside, he's incredibly smart. way to be able to teach would be better than any other manager out there, in my opinion. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see Suzuki and how that plays out and what kind of pathway that forges for other guys that are looking to make their transition or at least their entry as a manager or bench coach.
And as I expected, Kurt Suzuki actually was born in America. He's actually from LA. So
Okay. There you go, hometown kid.
or born in Hawaii. Born in Hawaii, and then I think he went to college at California State. So maybe he grew up in Hawaii, which is American. But Hawaii is kind of an extension, you know how that goes.
Islander man.
Yeah, All-Star World Series champ.
Yeah, there's still a couple other spots that are open in terms of managerial spots. I know Atlanta's one. So that means what? Texas and LA? Skip Schumacher being the only other one that was like a week and a half ago.
Still open? Baltimore?
Yes. Baltimore. Is Donnie Kelly still interim? Or is he now full-time? Because they fired Singleton or Shelton.
Right. I think as of right now, he's still the manager, but that may change.
Okay. So you can technically, that'd still be a turnover. That's still a change. You'd count that. So, yeah, I think he's a good fit for them anyways. I don't know why they would want to let him go. I think everything we've heard from the Pittsburgh radio and TV guys, like he's just very easy in the locker room. Players love him.
Gets ejected a lot, but that's neither here nor there. They need that.
Yep.
So yeah, that'll wrap up the show. We'll see you next week, and just get ready because the free agency is right around the corner.
It's gonna come out of the gates storming. So keep your fingers crossed and try not to break too many things in the next couple months.
Right.
Get your lick back. If a nigga gon' do something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up.